Good morning, everybody, and welcome to episode six already of Coffee and Chat. And I'm super excited this morning to be talking to Anna Veale, who is a mindset and bodyworks coach, and she works with men. Now, Anna's actually on the road. She's kindly pulled over to have this discussion. Where are you, Anna? Remind me where you're sitting.
I'm just sitting just outside Rotorua, and I'm 4.5 hours in, so I've got another hour till I get home. So
Anna started driving at 5 o'clock this morning, which is, pretty impressive.
It's good to see the sunrise.
Yeah, so maybe we'll get started, Anna. Just give us a little bit of info about you and your background.
Yeah, so thanks for having me on the show. It's really exciting to be here. So I'm from England originally, moved over to New Zealand around 9 years ago. Prior to that, we were in Australia for a few months. Mum of two, I'm a wife to a Kiwi, good old Kiwi man, and we're just living the dream here in the Bay of Plenty. So I worked in the corporate sector in my formative years, and in the last 18-19 years I've sort of migrated into the health and wellbeing space, it's just been awesome, and an awesome journey kind of from corporate to freedom, really.
Absolutely. So
being able to do that.
Tell me how you kind of got into the field of working with men.
Well, it kind of evolved really from when I left the corporate space. I was lucky enough to get a job working with a professional rugby club back in the UK. So I spent 4 seasons with the Saracens rugby team. And from there, my career just seemed to involve men. And it's a really interesting space to be in because women spend a lot of time on self-development, on health. They're willing to invest in themselves. They're willing to put the mahi in to get the best out of themselves. Men love to do the same thing, but they possibly don't put as much value in it from a mindset perspective. So when I was working in the personal training and sports massage space, it became really evident that men have the same thoughts and feelings as us females, but they just hide it very, very well, and the same sort of worries come up for them, but it shows in anger and irritation and frustration and just more. And so for me, when I was migrating from that sort of more physical space into the more mindset space, I knew it was a place that, one, was needed and needed to be talked about more, but two, I'd spent the last 2 decades working predominantly with men, so it fit. Yeah.
I think there's just such a demand for it, especially now. Like, we've got a lot of stuff going on in the world, male and female, of course, but as you just said, females are more likely to reach out and maybe ask for help or work on themselves, whereas men, I'm not saying that they've got to bury their head in the sand attitude, because that's not always the case, but like you said, they tend to want to deal with it on their own a lot of the time, and that's maybe how we're conditioned, or they're conditioned, and that's certainly something that needs to be addressed. So I think it's great that, there is someone available to help them through that. And being a female, you were able to probably draw some things out of them that maybe other men couldn't, because they're just not wired that way.
Yeah, I fully agree. And having been in that space where it's been a predominantly male orientated environment, high testosterone, lots of competition, often, especially in the sporting space, you're looking behind your shoulder to see if anybody else is coming in. Having that feminine aspect, but not being intimidating, not being claiming to know any more than them, just meeting them on the level and meeting them where they're at, really just enables them to be able to say exactly how they feel. And sometimes they don't even know how they feel. So just being able to enable them to get into their body to then be able to express themselves is actually really quite an amazing thing to be able to, and a big privilege for me to be able to do. And it's something that I feel very passionately about, because it then just has the ripple effects onto relationships, families, children, the work environment. So
So what's it like for you having a solely male client base? Because you don't work with women at all, do you, with your coaching?
Well, interestingly, I do. It's quite funny. Often I'll work with either the men, and then the men get such good results at home, then the females go, oh, what's this coaching? And then I'll go through a series of coaching with them. Or the females will say to me, you know, they might have encountered my personal training or my massage. They get to know who I am, and they're like, oh, my husband could do with a dose of you, and then they put them in touch, or brother, or whatever. So my first actual male client, when I decided to really specialize down and nail into the sort of male environment, was actually a brother of a good friend, and that's how it kind of amalgamated, and it made me seal the deal that this is the space that I wanted to be in. So I guess the difference between working with males and females is that it is a lot harder work. So prior to niching down into the males only market, I did work with a lot of females, and they were already coming with a level of awareness. When I'm working with men, we touch the physical first. So it's very much about, what are you doing for your overall health? Like, what is your, how are you feeling in terms of life, in your mindset, but also what are you doing for exercise? What's your nutrition like? How's your sleep? So it's very kind of external to start with. And then once we get the basics right, we then start to peel away the layers and get down to the deeper meaning, and work very much in alignment with values. So they say they want to be here, they're actually here. What's the gap in the middle, and how can we then actively take steps to help? So with men, it's very much kind of goalpost to goalpost, whereas with women, it's a bit more non-linear.
Yeah. So when these men come to see you, what kind of help are they generally looking for?
So historically, because I think, I've been known in that sort of sports massage, personal training space, they've come to me on a physical level because they might have heard that that's what I do. And that's quite an easy one, because they come and they say, I'm not training. What can I do? And that opens the door to then sort of ask the questions that lead us to the actual reasons why they might not be putting their health first. But other men, over the last year, I've noticed a big shift, and I'm not sure whether that's COVID or whether or not the talk of mental health has been highlighted, but I'm definitely seeing more men in the last year that know that they're stuck, that know that stress isn't helping them, and that they're just not happy. They've lost the joy. I think the big difference between coaching and sort of counselling and psychology, which has an amazing, awesome place, is that coaching is quite action orientated. And so they lean towards that. And then if there's a deeper issue that, is above my skill set, then I can refer on. But coaching is it's a word that most Kiwi men know now. All of the All Blacks and the Black Caps and the high performers, they all have a coach of some description. So they're realizing that it's not a weakness that they have to get addressed. It's like, I want to perform better, and in order to perform better, I need a coach. So the mindset is shifting and has shifted in the last year. But most of the time they're coming because either they're physically not where they want to be, or they know that they're mentally not on point and they're not showing up in their family lives as they want to be.
I think that's a really important distinction to make between counselling and coaching. Because coaching can still go into some of the deeper stuff, the background stuff, the historical stress, that sort of thing. But the difference is that with a counsellor, they're not going to be giving you that action plan at the end. Whereas coaching there's always an action plan. There's always, okay, this is the next step. And I think probably men in particular will really resonate with that, because that's what they're biologically wired to do, right? They want to take action on something.
Absolutely, they're Mr. Fix-It, right? So
exactly. Do you have a specific age range that you work with?
Yeah, generally speaking, it's sort of from that late 30s to mid late 50s. That's the group. I am starting to see younger ones coming through, but it is that sort of, you know, midway through life. I've got a couple of kids, I'm on the treadmill, I've got a mortgage to pay, you're telling me that I've got to exercise for my mental health, but when can I fit it in? You know, it's that. And for me, what I love is like breaking down the narrative and the stories that they've got about whatever area they're stuck in, and then for them to kind of get the aha moments, and then 4, 6, 8, 12 weeks later they're just like, oh my goodness, I'm free, this is, you know, I'm feeling better. Yeah. So coaching is really, really powerful.
Absolutely. So you just mentioned that, you know, the men that you work with are sort of, well, there's probably a good 20-year gap there, 20-year range, and they've got mortgages and kids and maybe having a bit of a midlife crisis. Are there any other kind of common themes with these men?
Yeah, a lot of them are strivers, you know, so they are looking for what's next. And I know women do it as well, especially in this social media age, but it's the looking over the fence at the neighbor and have I got enough? Am I doing enough? Am I providing enough? I think it's very instinctive for men to have that. And I think it's it's an important one, but they're usually highly stressed and they've lost their way, they've lost their mojo, they've lost the reason for why they're doing it, and most importantly, they've lost their joy. You know, a lot of people, that's where the room goes silent when I ask them what brings them joy, and they can't remember or they can't think, and that for them can be the kind of aha moment where they go, okay, I've got to just get off this treadmill and reassess what's going on.
So is part of the coaching process about dealing with those competitive feelings and kind of moving them away from, you know, the grass is greener on the other side, or am I measuring up to the Joneses next door? Do you sort of coach them around that as well?
Yeah, I do. I'm a massive believer in what do you want, and I think a lot of us, women in as well, not just men, but I think a lot of us have forgotten what we actually want at our core, and we think we want the next thing, and then when we get the next thing, it doesn't give us the joy we assumed we were going to have. And I think it's a very a healthy thing to strive, but you have to know what that is for, and if you're constantly looking for the external, then you're going to constantly be disappointed. So for me, it's about sort of getting very clear, as I say, on their values, on what they're getting out of bed in the morning for, and then being able to kind of micro chunk that down so that they're every day that they've got something that they're looking towards, that they can say that they've achieved, so that they can actually look back in the rearview mirror and go, I'm going and okay, rather than, oh, I'm not there yet.
Have you ever sort of gone down the path of working with with younger men, like late teens, early 20s? Because I can see that there would be such a need for that. You know, when those young men they've come into adulthood and they haven't really been guided in that area, because we're just not, you know, no one's really taught this stuff. You kind of have to go through it to figure it out. But I just wondered whether you'd considered working with younger men, or if you thought that it was, you know, something that there's a demand for.
Yeah, it was funny you should say that. Actually, I've got a very good friend in the UK who was one of my clients for many years, and I was on the phone to him driving this morning, and his son is in his early mid-20s, and he was just talking about a scenario that was going on with him, and we were talking about the importance and actually how we should be teaching this stuff to those young adults, and it's just not out there. I do quite a bit of work locally with Odomodi Football Club. I've done some work with their under 19 teams and their senior football teams, which they're kind of their age ranges. And that's been, again, a real privilege to be able to get into that. And although I went in with sports performance in mind, it's all the same thing. It's about having awareness of thoughts, having a real clear clarity on what your values are and what they mean to you, not what they mean to anyone else. And also just having that confidence to stay in their own lane. So although, yes, I go in and talk about it in relation to football, those principles apply outside of life too. So yeah, I think there's a big need for the younger generation coming through. And I also think they're probably more open to it than the demographic that I actually work with, which, to be quite honest, can be quite difficult getting them through the door initially, because there's that resistance of weakness.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I think there's a lot more knowledge and information out there now, acceptance that, you know, you don't have to do it all on your own, you can ask for help and that sort of thing. So what do you feel is your kind of main role in the lives of these men that you're working with?
For me, it's about getting them back to themselves. It's as simple as that. So getting them connected, getting them to see the little things, getting them to appreciate where they are and look down and see the value that they've got already, rather than always looking up and feeling like they're not meeting the bar. To appreciate the sunrise, to appreciate the questions that their kids ask them that do their head in because they're too busy and they're not at home, to be fully present in the moment in every interaction that they have, and to understand that they're not the thoughts, they're so much more than just the stress that they either put on themselves or they perceive from other people. So it's for them to have a real clear understanding of themselves and bring them home, really.
Yeah. So just a quick question about the format of your coaching. Like, do you do retreats, or do you do like one-on-ones or groups, or how does it normally work?
Yeah, so I'm really lucky in that I've got the opportunity to work with different people in different spaces. So one-on-one works really, really well for some people. You know, especially for men, there is still this perception that opening up is weak. So you put them in a group, they're less likely to put their hand up and ask questions. There's a special kind of relationship and trust that you build in order to facilitate that sort of work. So I work with people all over the world one-on-one, and then just locally I've been going into the more male-dominated corporate sectors to do workshops around stress management and mindfulness. I run mindfulness courses in town and in 2022 probably online. I've mentioned before, I go into sports clubs and do talks there. Next year, all going well, I'm going to be partnering up with the beautiful Lynn from Cherry Barn Bowen. She's creating a fantastic space, and hopefully we'll be holding some men's wellness retreats up there, which will be next level. I've got a very exciting game plan in my head for some very action-based workshops out there. Fantastic. Just getting amongst nature, getting back to the body, learning about breath work, learning about the mind in the most everyday, ordinary way, to just completely dispel the myth that you have to go and shave your head and live in a monastery to get this good stuff working for you. So yeah, a lot going on in 2022 for the men.
Awesome. Yes, no, I am aware of Lynn's plan. She's building a yurt. And yes. I've already picked her brain on that one about how I can use that space too for what we do. So yeah, we might have to make sure our diaries don't clash.
Yeah, definitely.
I think it's going to be in hot demand, that yurt.
I'd say so. Yeah. She's onto a winner there. Yeah, she really is, which is awesome.
Yeah. What would you say is the most rewarding part of what you do?
Oh, I asked a guy the other day, it was probably earlier on in the year, I said to him, can you just give me a one-liner as to why you come coaching? And he just wrote back saying, I'm a better person after I've seen you. And I just keep coming back to that. It's hard work working with men with regard to they need to know who I am. They need to trust me. Some of them don't even know what coaching is. It's hard work getting the men to the table. And when you get responses like that, and when you know that marriages have been, not saved is the wrong word, but when they're putting the work in to really improve their relationships at home, to be more connected as husbands and fathers, to know that they're not grumpy when they go into work. I mean, there's nothing more rewarding than that, to be fair, just seeing people step up. Yeah, I'm very lucky.
I just had a little thought pop up in my mind, Anna. There's a lot of material there for a book.
Yes, well, funny, I'm actually working on it, and it's called Only Human. I just need a few more hours in the day to get it finished, as you all know.
Well, we can talk about who I can refer you to some incredible people who can help you make that happen if that's something you want to do.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
But yeah, I think a book like that would be fantastic for men and for young men.
Yes, for young men. Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. What would you say is the most difficult part, aside from getting the men there in the first place and maybe opening up?
I think probably the most difficult part once they're through the door is for them to, most of them cringe when I say vulnerable, or the word vulnerability. So for them to understand that that's absolutely a strength. And especially men in business, but business owners in particular, you know, I talk about the absolute golden nuggets that they've got if they can show just a little bit of their own vulnerability, sensitivity, history to their employees, how that develops so much more trust, and with that trust then the employees can flourish themselves. But I would say that's probably one of the hardest things for a Kiwi man to get their head around.
And again, I can see so much value in being able to take this into a school setting with a 16, 17, 18-year-old guy and tune them into that word from an early age.
Yeah.
So interesting.
Yeah, you've got me thinking now, Heidi.
Whether I don't know how receptive they'd be, but their brains are still developing.
They are.
And you know, it might be worth having a word to some schools about that, perhaps. You know, only if that, I mean, I'm sure you've got plenty of other things going on.
No, I love it. I'm always open. I love an audience, and I worked in schools many years ago, so it might be quite fun to get back into that. Yeah,
fantastic. So what would you say to any women out there who are listening, who have men in their lives that might need a little bit of help or support? What's the best way for them to approach those men and perhaps offer that suggestion?
I think it's a really good question, because often I've just been in Dannyvirk, where I used to work, massaging some old clients and friends, and one of them was saying about her husband is a prime candidate for my coaching, and I know him very, very well. And she was saying, the thing is, you know, I could just come across as the nagging wife, you know, like I'm like, you should be doing this and you should be doing that, and he's like, I'm working, can't you see I'm trying to. So I think it's just that drip feeding, you know, obviously if it's sort of down in the mental health kind of continuum, if there's a real worry for their mental health, then that elicits a proper conversation. But if it's that sort of middle of the road, just blah, every day's a dull day, just on the treadmill, then there's different things that you can do. Like I've got a podcast out and I interview men that have been there, done that, that have seen the stresses. I interview lots of different people, but we talk about the importance of mental fitness, and the importance of community and all of that sort of stuff. So even just putting it on in the background, so listening to podcasts in the background that are actually relatable to them, if they're in a car trip, instead of listening to the radio, popping a podcast on. So it just drip feeds the information. If you're less subtle than that, I mean, a couple of years ago I bought my husband some coaching sessions for Christmas, because I knew he needed something that wasn't me. And so instead of every year I buy him a pair of running shoes, I bought him a 5 coaching sessions, and within that 5 week period or whatever that he was working with the guy that I bought him for, he'd left his job, and he had nothing to do with me. It was completely external. I didn't ask him what was going on in those sessions. All I noticed was we'd been together 16 years at that time. Not once in 16 years would he get up and train with me in the morning. He was up training in the morning. His narrative was, I train at night, but of course he'd come home with 2 young kids. I often would work in evenings, so he would lose his opportunity to train. So he sort of dropped that ability for fitness, but because I was the nagging wife saying, why don't you do it in the morning? He wouldn't entertain it. But as soon as a coach kind of gave him different suggestions, he was listening to podcasts, he was doing breath work, he changed his job. This stuff is life-changing.
Absolutely.
So various things, from the subtleties to just, we are what we eat, and that is including what we listen to, what we absorb. So if the females who are listening to this are listening to the podcasts that are more relative to or relatable to the guys, then he's going to pick up on it and kind of go, oh yeah, that's interesting, or oh, I haven't thought of it like that. Oh, gratitude, I thought that was just a fluffy word, but actually Dan Carter uses it, so all of these sorts of things. Or the less subtle thing, just go and get the coaching for the Christmas present, and then life changes pretty quickly.
What's the name of the podcast, Anna?
So my podcast is called the Fresh Minds podcast.
The Fresh Minds. I'll post that name in the when I post this video.
Thank you. Another really good podcast is called the High Performance Podcast, and that's people have got all the skill set, and a very brilliant couple in the UK as a psychologist, and he's a TV presenter, sports presenter, and they get some fantastic people on there. So that's a good one for men to be listening to, or I listen to it all the time, but it's relatable to guys.
You're doing such valuable work. It's so interesting because the majority of our clients are women. And often, even if it's the man that really needs the help, it's the woman that comes in to initiate it, to get her husband on board. And I totally get what you're saying about the nagging wife. Often the thing that makes the difference is having that external person who has nothing to do with them, and then they're prepared to listen.
100%.
It's awesome. So just to flip the question around a little bit, we've been talking so much about men. What if you could think about one thing that you wish every woman could have? And I ask this to everybody. What would that one thing be?
I think for me it would be, again, to have the awareness that you can be free from your perceptions of what you need to get done. I think as women, and I'm one of them, and I have to remind myself daily, and my mantra is there's another way, because I'm a very process, highly driven, purposeful person, but often that can lead to burnout. So and I think when you've got children, if you're working or if you're not working, but you think you should be working, and you're comparing yourself, and there's this perceived pressure everywhere. So I think if I could give one bit of advice, it would be to listen to your thoughts and ask them if they're true, and be open to the suggestion that there could be another way. And often I'll be standing at the laundry, having done my second round of laundry, and I've taught my Pilates class at 6 a.m, and now it's time to get the kids out, and then I've got my client, and I just laugh, and I'm like, here you go again. It's this real conditioned habit that I'm in, and I have to woe myself back all the time. And it's that perceived pressure that we have to get the washing out before the next client comes, or whatever it might be. And if we can strip that back, then life's a lot more chilled. We tell ourselves we have to do things a lot, and that's just not true. So
it's interesting, and just to go off track a little bit, I've just filmed I do a Monday 5 Live episode on my plant-based nutrition coaching page, and today it was all about choosing a theme word for 2022, and while you were talking about that, it just popped into my head. And the word, I haven't nailed my word down yet, but I'm relating to a lot of what you're saying about feeling like you have to do everything now. And sometimes you just need to stop and look back and go, actually, I've actually achieved quite a lot this year. I don't have to do it all now. And so the word that I haven't nailed down my word yet for 2022, but the word that I'm really drawn to is the word ease.
Lovely. Oh, I love it.
So then
Love
the
it.
idea is to make all your decisions and your goals and your actions around that word.
How wonderful.
And yeah, and you talking about it just kind of resonated with exactly what I've been talking about this morning, is how do we actually just pull ourselves back and, stop and breathe.
Yeah. And just out of interest, what does that word mean to you? Like what comes up for you when you say that word?
So the word ease is about ease in the way I run my business, the way I deal with other people, the way I manage my health and well-being. It's not about go, 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 go. It's about just chill out, girl. Like,
Beautiful.
just chill out.
Yeah.
That's what it's about to me. And I think that when you just chill out, that's when things start to hum.
Absolutely.
When you're not
it's
so
when you're in flow,
wound up and going at the speed of light, trying to get everything done, that's when things go bad.
Yeah, absolutely. And we miss the joy as well. We're too busy trying to get to the destination, and we forget that all of this good stuff is actually the growth. I love that. Ease, what a brilliant word.
So I think that's going to be my word for 2022, but I'm still working on it, but that one feels pretty good.
Well, it looks like it's resonating, so good stuff.
All right, so I'm going to ask you some quick fire questions.
Oh, okay, exciting. Go for it.
All right, what's your favorite food?
Pancakes with lemon.
Oh,
sorry, it's not very healthy. Lemon and sugar. I didn't know if I was allowed to say that on that program, but it's a bit of a family trait. So Sunday pancakes has been through like 3 generations. So
wow, so every Sunday.
We don't do it every Sunday so much anymore, but my mum used to, my brothers do, like we're all cool. Pancake, sugar and lemon for the win.
I love it. I love those little traditions.
Yes, totally.
Okay, what's your biggest pet peeve?
I've got a couple, but gossip, like small-minded, talking about other people, that below the line stuff. That's probably my biggest one. Good
call. How do you stay healthy?
I meditate.
Cool.
If I don't meditate and I don't take time to actually go in and listen to what's going on in my body, then I stop exercising, I eat the wrong foods, I potentially close down opportunities. So that keeps me stable.
Do you have to do that every day for that to work?
Yeah, I do, but it comes in different forms. So I've been meditating for quite a long time now. So, sometimes it might just be breath work in the morning, 5 breaths around a box breathing. Other times it might be alternating nose breathing. Other times it'll be sit for long times, longer periods, sort of up to 20 minutes. But at some period within my day, there is an element of just checking in with Anna. How are you going? What's going on for you? Yeah.
Fantastic. How do you handle your bad days?
I love just going to sleep. So, I just, again, with all the meditation that I've done and I've had sort of varying degrees of anxiety and depression over my life. I've lived with, my father was an alcoholic. The male line of my father's side is very alcohol, anxiety, depression. So I've lived with it all my life. But the beauty of living with that is that that you're going to be okay. So we're ever moving creatures, we're ever changing. So if I'm having a bad day, I know tomorrow's going to be better. And so sleep, it always wins.
I have to agree with that. I'm one to go and have a little sleep in the afternoon if I, and often we have our bad days because we haven't had enough sleep.
Absolutely.
So it's like that catch up time, isn't it?
100%. I'm all for a good power nap.
Yeah, me too. What would you say is the main thing that gets you out of bed in the morning? Like, what's your driving force in your life?
Oh, I know it sounds a little bit workaholic-ish, but my clients, like I love what I do. So
Yeah,
just knowing that I've got a purpose and a mission, and that's what gets me up.
fantastic. I love it.
Yeah.
If you could invite anyone to dinner, living or dead, who would it be and why?
I find these questions really interesting because I kind of automatically go to, like, my childhood hero or whatever. But do you know, actually, it would be, as sad as it sounds, like my mum and my dad. My dad's not here anymore, and my mum is a long way away, and they have got between them more knowledge and wisdom than any person that I can kind of imagine would be, have all the stuff that I want to know.
Yeah.
And not having my dad around anymore, I've just got so many questions about his upbringing and what his beliefs were, and all the questions I didn't think to ask when he was alive. So yeah, I think I'd have both of them back at the dinner table and talk more about their lives.
Yeah, what a cool answer.
Mm.
Love that one. What's your guilty pleasure?
Oh, I do love a good afternoon movie.
Any kind of, like, any style of movie in particular?
Oh, do you know what I love? I don't know if you've watched the Bourne series, but Jason Bourne and the Bourne Identity.
Matt Damon?
Yeah. And every time I watch those movies, something else comes up, and I've done some different events in my life, and every time I've had struggles, I'll kind of ask myself what different people might do, and it always comes back to, like, people like Jason Bourne. How would I get out of this one? Or if I'm guilty pleasure watching a bit of Jason Bourne on the TV when everyone else is working.
I love it. Even better on a rainy day when you can shut the curtains and the rest of the world doesn't exist.
Absolutely, yeah, definitely. There's something quite whimsical about it. Love it.
Yeah. I think that's a very English thing, actually. I've got an English friend who loves to do that as well.
Yeah, and it's so funny because my kids are just the most amazing humans, and they're very outdoorsy most of the time. But to be honest, if they want to do something with mum, it's like, let's watch a movie, and we pull the curtains, and it's all so it must be a bit of an English tradition, I reckon.
that coziness, coziness in the cold.
Yeah, definitely.
In front of the fire.
Oh yeah. Oh, now you're making me homesick.
No. All right, what's something that not many people know about you?
Most people would think that I'm a bit of an extrovert, but I'm actually really love my own company, and I love performing. I love being out in front of people, but when I get home, I just love a book and going to bed. Like my bedroom's my little sanctuary, and if I'm not doing anything, I'm generally reading. So people go, no, you love people, and I'm like, yeah, I love being by myself more. So
you've got a limit, where your limit is. Yeah. Okay. Do you have a favorite quote that you live by?
Depends on the day, but my definite mantra is there is another way, because I'm really aware of my habitual kind of thoughts and feelings. But my quote that I love, and I think it's probably just because I've moved around quite a bit, but if you've got your roots, then you know that you've got the wings to fly. And my mum very much taught me to pursue every dream possible, but also maintain that level of humility. Remember where you're from, remember your roots. So, and more than anything, with COVID not being able to go home and be connected to my physical roots, that one's been really resonating with me over the last couple of months.
Absolutely.
And certainly when I have my days where possibly I need to look after myself a little bit more, I am reminded of how lucky I am to have had such strong families, foundations, and that gives me the confidence to go and write the book and go and do the things I love and not watch Jason Bourne for all day.
I love it. Yeah, that's so true. If you've got those roots, then you can have the confidence to go and do anything you want to do.
100%. Yeah. Yeah.
So do you have any last words of wisdom for our listeners today?
Oh, do you know what? I just think we can get so bogged down in the daily grind, and then that's another day of life that we've lost. So in terms of advice, I'd just be saying, please just look for the little things, because it's the little things that make our world. And we're living in a bit of a chaotic time at the moment, and we need a bit of grounding. And there is nothing more grounding than looking out the window and seeing the sunset. Or I've just been in the country and I slept with the curtains open, and I kid you not, there was a star that looked like somebody had just put it on like a bolt of silver against a black backdrop. Had I just pulled the curtains like I habitually do, I would have missed that moment. And instead I just lay there in complete silence looking out at this one star, and it just brought me so much joy. So probably getting back to your ease, just, you know, steady the bus down, slow down, look for the good in every day, because there is good in every day, even if it is just one little star on its own.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And you're so right. We do get bogged down, and you know, life gets so crazy and busy, and we just forget, don't we, to just chill out and look at the small things and appreciate the small things.
Yeah, and I if I don't keep on top of my own mental fitness, I am a bit of a ruminator, and I'm a bit of an overthinker, and I can get quite bogged down in the heaviness of life. And probably earlier this year I did, because I just couldn't see an end to you know, when am I going to get home. But what brings me out of that is the meditation and being in the moment. And actually, when you're fully present, like me here with you now, nothing else, this is it. This is the golden moment. We're never going to get this time back. And I think when you can really look at it from that perspective, and it takes concentration and it takes hard work, but man, you get the joy from it. And yeah, that's what I try to live by as much as I can.
I love it. What a great piece of advice.
Yeah, thank you.
So is there anything else you want to add today before we wrap up?
No, I don't think so, Heidi, but I just want to appreciate you're putting yourself out there for so many people, and you know, what you and Steve do is fantastic in the community and the wider population. So well done for showing up for yourself as well, and it's appreciated by many people. So thank you.
Oh, thank you, Anna. I appreciate that. Yeah, I love it. I really look forward to my Monday mornings, because I'm getting to speak to all these amazing women and just learning so much. So yeah, it's something I'm really grateful for too, that people like you are prepared to show up and share your knowledge and your experience too. So if there's any women who are listening who are thinking, yep, I've got a husband, I've got a brother, I've got a father, I've got a son who needs some help, how can they contact you?
Probably just the easiest thing is go to my website, because everything's on there with my socials and my podcasts and all that sort of stuff. So it's just freshcoaching.me. And yeah, they can go there. I'm local in Automortai, so you can kind of just give me a ring. Chat to me in the street, whatever floats your boat. I'm there, and I'm always up for a good chat. So yeah, I think as long as people know that it's nothing to be intimidated about, and it's I think the more we talk about the men's mental fitness, the more benefit the whole country is going to get as a result. So just they can find me in any medium they need to.
Cool. Okay. Well, I'll post that website on the page as well, so people can find it.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I just want to say thanks again for pulling over on your long journey and having this chat. It's been awesome, and I've really enjoyed learning more about what you do. And I think it's it's good for us to know too that you're there for any men that we come across who might need a little bit of extra support as well.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
So yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in, and we'll catch you same place, same time next week. Bye.
Awesome. Bye.